And we're back. It's me, it's Mitch. It's your second dose of lovely bumper Saturday weekend wrestling news. How you doing, Mitch?
Oh, mate, I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely grand. It's so great to be here with you on a Saturday doing all the bumper lovely wrestling news stuffy things. This is a lot of fun. I may have had too much coffee.
Yeah, is it still sunny down there? You still having a nice day?
Hang on. Blooming gorgeous, mate.
Oh,
absolutely lovely.
I had to get an Uber in. I was going to get soaked.
Is it tipping down up there? Oh, no, what a shame. I'm going to go for a walk in the sun after this.
Oh, I'm very, very, very jealous. Get yourself a nice Solero, mate. Anyway, let's have a look at the headlines. There's reportedly a lot of heat backstage on Riddle. AEW have hired a former Impact Wrestling head. And CM Punk has confirmed that WWE return talks did indeed happen. Find out all the details in a bit. So we're kicking things off with the story that there is reportedly a lot of heat backstage on Riddle. Now, according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, within certain circles in WWE, there is a lot of heat regarding following recent comments about Roman Reigns that Riddle gave in an interview. And apparently his comments definitely weren't part of any WWE storylines. Meltzer wrote, "It was very much considered a negative by many, with the basic theme that Riddle is incredibly talented, more so than he gets credit for. But he's not very astute politically in the WWE jungle." Riddle had said in an interview with Bleacher Report, "When he's saying acknowledge me or I move that needle, no you don't. You're related to The Rock. Shut up. Like, I'm not impressed. I can beat you up in a real fight, so shut your mouth. You're not moving needles. I'm the real stallion. RK Bro is moving the merch. We're moving the needle, and that's it. I don't want to say too much. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Hey, hats off to him. He's amazing at what he does. I do like what he does, but at the same time, it's like, get off your high horse. You're in that spot for a reason. You're not a bro. You're second generation. I'm first generation." Now, so much of that is definitely in character. Surely, Matt Riddle
must be, mustn't it?
Matt Riddle, I don't like that. That's got to be Matt Riddle the character, right? Like Riddle the character, rather than Matt Riddle the person.
I would hope so.
Toward the end there, where it's like, you know, like I'm the real needle mover, like I'm the stallion.
It's a little bit like, you know, Riddle's doing the work of his, you know, main roster WWE career at the moment, and it's almost a bit like he's gone, right, how can I mess this up for myself?
How can I just prod the bear a little more?
Look, we know Riddle's not the most diplomatic. He's upset a few people in the past, and this just seems to be the latest in a long line of people with influence backstage that Matt Riddle has made unhappy, shall we say. We've had Goldberg, Brock Lesnar. There was the stuff with Seth Rollins, wasn't there? Which I'm struggling to remember now. He just seems to be a very divisive guy.
The thing with the Goldberg and Lesnar situations that was always kind of, they were like dream match talks, right, weren't they? Like, it was kind of like the attitude around that kind of blatant getting out there, being all like, people want to see this, and that kind of ruffling feathers because maybe that's not on the cards, maybe that's not in the long-term booking, but, you know, I'm assuming that your average wrestler in WWE doesn't know every facet of the booking and is maybe just trying to play into that fan demand of like, oh, could you imagine this match? Could you imagine that match? Maybe it could be a situation like that where it's like, I'm going to go out there in the press, I'm going to say some things, maybe see if it'll ruffle enough feathers to pique some interest, and if it piques some interest, maybe we can will this into existence. But it's kind of backfired a little bit, and now everybody's a bit like, you can't say that about Roman. Roman's the locker room leader. Gotta be really careful. Learn how politics works backstage, please. It strikes me as maybe it was done in a way like that rather than, you know, a straight up knobby way. But if it was done in a knobby way, then what are you doing? What are you doing?
What
are you thinking?
I've just got this image of like Randy Orton stood behind him at all times going like, oh no!
Keeping it with WWE once again, but not at the same time. It's a little bit of a weird one. We've got a WWE star in a non-WWE setting, and that is always interesting, whether it's a talk show or whether it's like a random appearance like Kurt Angle on SMTV where he was just stood around during the Chums segment acting like a security guard. You know, it's always kind of interesting to see these characters taken out of the real world comic book that is WWE and just launched into something entirely
Just put
different.
somewhere completely different, yeah.
And this time, it's going to be maybe closer to wrestling because it's performance-based, but The Miz is joining the cast of Dancing with the Stars. Now, it was announced, obviously, he wasn't present at Raw on Monday. He was supposed to be wrestling John Morrison, but apparently, you know, it was like, well, there was no announcement as to why he wasn't there. Let's hope he's all right. Let's hope it wasn't anything like an emergency. Let's just hope it was maybe a travel issue. It could be related to this. So, yeah, like PW Insider have broken the news that he's been cast in the forthcoming season of Dancing with the Stars. It will be the 30th season of the ABC reality competition, and it's slated to debut on the 30th of September. So the cast should, well, the full cast anyway, should be officially announced in the weeks ahead, with singer JoJo Siwa already being revealed for the series. So Miz hasn't been officially confirmed, but PW Insider breaking the story that he is indeed going to be part of that series. And I can't wait to see The Miz do some ballroom dancing. This is going to be mental.
Oh, The Miz doing the cha-cha slide, the tango, all of it. I want to see it all. They've had Chris Jericho did that as well, didn't he, a few years ago?
Yes, he did,
I think
yeah.
Stacey Keibler. So there's precedent for the crossover. I'm just worried this means when it's all said and done, Miz comes back as Fandango 2.0.
Oh, God. There is going to be an element of that because Miz is obviously so big-headed that he likes to play off these things when he gets these sort of big accolades and moments.
Yeah.
So I think we will see some element of ballroom dancing involved with the returning Miz. Entirely different thing, yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see play out, and obviously with it being a contest, there's no firm time scale on, I imagine, how long he'll be out. Because is it like the UK where it's live and you vote? Because if it's like that, then it'll, you know, he could potentially be on there the full run if he's very good. So it'll be an as and when return to WWE situation, maybe, unless it's like a mid-season break or something.
Yeah, I mean, The Miz is just... He passed 15 years with WWE this week, and he's one of the hardest working guys that company has ever seen. So I wouldn't be surprised if Miz was rehearsing on a Monday and then still finding his way to Raw a couple of times during his run there.
Oh, God,
and bigging up the series and bigging up his involvement and getting that cross promotion. You know, you look at The Miz, and he's going to be one of them. He's 40 now, and you don't know how long he's got left in wrestling. But the minute he's done, he is going to be fine because he has done so much
charisma, man. Like, he can go and do anything he wants. But I can't wait to see it. But moving on, we are going to the news that AEW have reportedly made an internal hire that will hopefully help them grow their business internationally. Now, Mike Johnson of PW Insider has reported that All Elite Wrestling have hired Shane Emerson for the position of Head of Global Programming and Partnerships. Emerson had reportedly started with the company this week, and in his role, he'll be spearheading the company's international expansion through licensing, partnerships, and other strategy. And this is the interesting thing. He was one of the heads of this division at Impact for a 6-year time frame from 2011 to 2017. He was apparently very well liked during that tenure, and he was seen as someone who got a lot done in his role. Now, due to the global pandemic, AEW has, you know, they haven't been able to hold a show outside of the US yet, but it's one of those things that you've got to figure they're going to be doing sooner rather than later. They can't have ties in London. You know, they have a nice big old stadium just sat there with nothing to do. Football? No, get AEW in there for an extended run. No, it'd be lovely. But yeah, it's a huge hire for AEW there. Hopefully, you know, in terms of the steps that this is going to allow them to take, this could be the next big step for AEW as an entity on an international scale. Because once they hit up one country, there's no stopping them, you know, rolling out small tours, doing, you know, similar to WWE house show loop type things where they come out maybe a specific time of each year, like every May we'll be in the UK, every like July we'll be in wherever, we'll be coming over there, we'll be doing this. And Impact had a lot of ties globally anyway, of course, like back in the TNA days, I think we still had, you know, the ties to India and things, so there might be a lot of contacts that have just been kind of left dormant for a while that AEW might be hitting up soon. But speaking of AEW, what were you going to say, Mitch?
I was going to say this is just the latest in a number of sensible moves by AEW because Shane Emerson, he was responsible for some really big moves for Impact during that period, particularly here in the UK as well when it came to TV deals. So, great move.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. But just as I was saying, keeping it with CM Punk, keeping it with AEW, CM Punk...
You've spoiled the story!
CM Punk has confirmed that WWE reached out to him about a potential return. There were talks that, you know, WWE's networks were unhappy at the fact that AEW had managed to sign Punk away, and you would be unhappy, wouldn't you, if you were a network and you were like, he used to work for you guys, we got him in, you know, to do Backstage, and it's getting closer than ever before for maybe a possible AEW. And it was kind of suggested around that time that WWE didn't even really try to go for him, because, you know, the relationship there is heavily strained, and for good reason. Like, Punk walked out of that company because of the way he was treated, and it was very unbelievable that he'd likely go back, and so it was being reported that WWE were maybe not even bothering to try, but apparently they had. And in an interview with ESPN, he said, I remember one of the first things I ever said to them was, above all, don't play games. And they played games. Some things never change. When you enter a conversation with people you have a past with and you know who they are, how seriously can you take it? I know exactly who they are, and they just continue to prove it. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I possibly can. Now, apparently this was toward the end of last year, like December. They were really actively starting to scramble and try and reach out to him, and it just sounds that, you know, talks entered at least the initial phase of like, okay, you know, I'm assuming it would have been like, well, what you got? What's your offer? What do you think? What are your plans? Where do you see me in the company? And then he's just noticed patterns of behavior that he's experienced before, which nobody wants to have to go through something like that again. Like, nobody.
It was Punk's been really very diplomatic, I think, when it comes to discussing WWE since returning to AEW, because everyone wants to know what went on and what his thought process was. And he said some really interesting comments about, like, you know, if I was just money driven, I could have main evented WrestleMania this year. Yeah. You know, and that's, you know, what could have been if that was what Punk wanted to do. But he's been very clear in the past as well about not wanting to be part of that machine again, and all the power to him if that's not what's going to make him happy. If you do get a chance, go and read this ESPN story,
good.
Because it's very excellent.
Good. Yeah, the one thing I think to take away from it is just that wrestling needed CM Punk more than ever right now, but CM Punk didn't really need wrestling at all, and CM Punk is back to wrestle, it feels, for the sake of wrestling. And yes, he's probably making a lot of money doing so, but as you said, like, if he wanted to make money, he'd be headlining Mania. Like, because, you know, it would be that simple as to pick up the phone, call up the people you already know, go back to the same facilities you already know, you've been there before, you've trod those, you know, those pathways, you can kind of navigate it. As much as you'll have a bad time, you'll make money. And so, you know, I'm glad that he was able to just kind of go, you know what, no, I don't need this, and move on. And now we're here. Now we are in the most exciting phase of wrestling that we've seen since, I'm going to say, you know, the mid to late 90s. It's starting to heat up pretty brilliantly.
Without a doubt. I mean, we said, again, I'm going to plug that podcast Tom and I did. Tom and I said on our monthly roundup of the news that this is the biggest signing for AEW so far in terms of what it symbolises. You're bringing back a person that hasn't wrestled officially since early 2014, and giving them a way back into it, and a person that brings that pardon the pun, but that cult following.
Of course, All Out is this weekend. Tom will be doing a live stream. Get here 11:59 on Sunday. YouTube.com/Cultaholic/live. Tom will be doing the live reactions, as I said. Mitch, is there anything else you'd like to plug?
Yeah, just for All Out, we've got the fantastic Jack Atkins doing the live blog over at Cultaholic.com, bringing his usual comedy and flavour to the All Out show. He's fantastic, isn't he? Justin Henry will also be breaking the news for us. You'll find the lovely Fraser Porter on our social media channels. So please join us, pardon the pun again, join us for All Out.
Well, that's it from me, and I'm assuming that's all from Mitch, unless there's any more news you want to report?
No.
No? Okay. Well, have a lovely weekend, everybody. I hope the weather's lovely like it is where Mitch is, where you are, and that you can all have Soleros. I could have one, but it'd just be a sad one in the rain. So it's not really worth it. I might just have a coffee and look out into the middle distance. And just play some gentle cafe jazz. But anyway, I'll catch you all in a bit. See you later. Stay safe. See you soon.